Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling software product management. We're drawing our insights mainly from the University of Alberta's specialization on Coursera. Now, if you're thinking standard project management, this is, well, it's different. It's specifically geared for the twists and turns of actually building software. Think about maybe building a house, but the client keeps wanting to move walls around as you're putting up the drywall. That's kind of the dynamic we're discussing.
That's a really good analogy, actually. And our mission today really is to dig into the core principles, the goals of SPM. So whether you're already deep in development, maybe leading a team, or you're just, curious about how software gets made, this should give you a good foundation.
Exactly. And that Coursera specialization, it's structured quite cleverly. There's an intro, then 4 core courses. They frame it like an Inuksuk, those Inuit stone markers basically pointing the way, and then a final capstone project. Today, we're really focusing on those foundational ideas.
Okay, so fundamentally, what's software product management trying to do? What are the big goals for making better software? Well, according to the course material, it really comes down to three main interconnected goals. First, you need to build the right product. This means creating something that genuinely solves the client's problem, meets their needs, leaves them happy. It's about checking your assumptions, making sure you're building something people actually need. And interestingly, it's not just about what the client says they want now, but understanding their bigger goals to figure out what they'll really need later on, even if they haven't thought of it yet.
Huh. Anticipating future needs. That's a key point. Okay, so that's goal 1. Goal 2.
Second goal is getting it done right. So this is more about the execution side. The software needs to be built properly, following a solid design. And that design, it has to accurately reflect the requirements you started with. This involves verification, did we build the product right, technically? And validation, did we build the right product for the need?
Okay, got it. Building the right thing and then building that thing correctly. What's the third goal?
The third piece is managing the whole thing right. This is about using the right processes, the right practices to keep the team organized, communication flowing, getting feedback smoothly through the whole project. It's really about effective oversight. So, right product, done right, managed right. Those are the three pillars.
And the person steering the ship towards those pillars is the software product manager. Sounds like that job involves more than just watching timelines and budgets.
Oh, absolutely. Project management skills are useful, no doubt, but the SPM is focused on the overall success of the product, in the market for the client. A really good SPM is like a crucial bridge. They connect the client's vision with what the development team can actually build.
So kind of like a translator
Yeah,
between the business side and the tech side.
that's a great way to put it. Yeah. They need a deep understanding of the product from the client's angle, their pain points, their goals, and then translate that into clear, practical guidance for the developers. And they're also key in keeping the team motivated, focused on that product vision.
Right. It makes sense then that defining success needs different perspectives. How do we actually measure success for a software project? I mean, beyond the basics.
Yeah, so traditionally you'd look at things like, was it delivered on time? Did it stay within budget? Were all the features we agreed on included? And those are definitely important markers for, well, any project.
Those feel pretty standard, yeah. But you're suggesting for software, it's maybe broader.
It is. I mean, hitting those targets is good, but a fuller picture of success in software also looks at things like how many bugs pop up after release, how much customer support is needed, what are the user ratings like, is it actually making money, and ultimately, is the client really satisfied? Especially with software where user adoption is everything, are those traditional metrics always the best measure of real success?
That's a really good question. So you could be on time, under budget, but if the thing is buggy or just doesn't resonate with users, it's not really a success, is it?
Exactly my point. And a good software product manager figures out which of these success factors matter most for this particular product. Then they define metrics, ways to actually measure those things. This keeps a whole development process aimed at delivering something that's not just functional, but genuinely valuable and successful.
Okay, great. Let's shift gears a bit to agile. You hear that term everywhere in software. What does agile mean in the context of this specialization?
Right, so the specialization defines Agile as a set of guiding principles for developing software. The idea is to make development effective, yes, but also really adaptable when things change. It's less a strict rule book, more a philosophy, about how you approach building software.
And this philosophy is laid out in the Agile Manifesto. What are the main ideas there?
Yeah, the manifesto has 4 core values. The first one puts individuals and interactions over processes and tools. It really highlights the people doing the work and how important good collaboration is within the team.
Makes sense. Software is made by people talking to each other, essentially. What's value number 2?
Second is valuing working software over comprehensive documentation. Here, the emphasis is on delivering something tangible, something that works, to the client and doing it often, rather than getting totally bogged down writing huge documents before anyone writes a line of code.
So less focus on thick reports, more on getting a usable product into people's hands.
Exactly. The third value is customer collaboration over contract negotiation. This stresses keeping the client involved, working together throughout the project, not just signing a contract at the start and treating that as the absolute final word. So think about a tricky situation. A demanding client wants loads of upfront documentation. How do you square that with valuing working software more? Well, often it means finding a balance, right? Delivering working pieces frequently, but also providing the necessary documentation, just maybe not exhaustive tomes first. You prioritize the working software.
That continuous collaboration idea really resonates.
Yeah.
Okay, and the last core value.
The last one is responding to change over following a plan. This just acknowledges that software development is complex. Things will change requirements, market conditions, whatever. Being able to adapt is considered more valuable than just blindly sticking to the original plan no matter what.
So having a plan is good, but being ready to adjust it when things shift is even better.
That's the idea. The manifesto says the things on the left, people, working software, collaboration, adaptability, are valued more than the things on the right. Processes, documents, contracts, rigid plans. But, and this is important, it doesn't mean the things on the right have no value. You don't just throw out processes or planning. It's about where your priority lies when you have to make a choice.
That's a really crucial distinction. Now, the specialization also links Agile back to a simple dictionary definition, right?
It does, yeah. It points to Merriam-Webster defining Agile as having a quick, resourceful, and adaptable character. And that really sums up the spirit of Agile software development, being nimble, clever, ready to adapt.
All right, let's dive into some of those key areas within software product management. First up, process. What does that mean here?
Okay, so in SPM, a process is basically a structured way to organize the work. It usually breaks the whole development lifecycle down into distinct stages or phases. The course mentions examples like specification, then design and implementation, then verification and validation, specification being, figuring out clearly what the software needs to do.
So it's about putting things in a logical order, a sequence for the development steps.
Pretty much. The whole point of having a process is to bring some order to what can be a pretty complex job. It helps make sure you don't miss crucial steps, gives everyone a starting point, a framework, like a roadmap for the team. And of course, a big part of any process is understanding what you're actually building, which leads us straight into requirements.
And if you don't have a structured process, what's the alternative called?
The alternative is usually called ad hoc development. It's much more reactive. Work just sort of happens based on whatever seems urgent or pops up without a clear overall structure or defined phases.
That sounds like it could get messy, maybe inefficient.
It often does, yeah. It might feel flexible, but ad hoc can lead to people doing the same work twice, requirements getting missed, maybe developers spending time on stuff that isn't really aligned with the main goals or what the client actually needs.
So having a process helps define the what, which brings us to requirements. Why are these so critical?
Oh, well-defined requirements are absolutely fundamental. The specialization really hammers this home. They're the cornerstone. Requirements are basically specific, detailed descriptions of what the software must do. They capture the client's needs, their expectations, and you should be able to trace them directly to the features you end up building.
So they act as a clear instruction manual for the developers.
Exactly. They cut down on confusion, on ambiguity, both within the team and when talking to the client. If you invest the time up front to really nail down and write down clear requirements, you can spot potential problems or contradictions in the idea much earlier, like before you've even started coding.
That sounds incredibly valuable, catching issues early on. Must save a lot of headaches later.
It really can. You avoid costly rework or fixing big problems late in the game. And like you said earlier, there's actually a whole course in the specialization just focused on how to properly gather and write down these requirements, client needs, and software requirements.
Right. Okay, let's talk planning. We all kind of know what planning is, but how does it work specifically in software product management?
Well, the course uses a great quote from Alan Lakeen. Planning is bringing the future into the present so that you can do something about it now. In SPM, planning is all about organizing the tasks, setting schedules, figuring out who does what, to make sure the development work actually lines up with the requirements we just talked about, and, making sure the project moves through its phases properly. It's taking that big vision and breaking it down into manageable steps, creating that roadmap.
So turning the big goal into actionable pieces with timelines.
Precisely. Key parts of planning include breaking down all the work into smaller tasks, estimating how long each task might take, that's a big one, assigning work to team members, identifying potential risks, things that could go wrong, and then coming up with backup plans, contingency plans for those risks.
And planning isn't a one-and-done thing at the start, right? Especially not in software.
Absolutely not, no. In software, planning is continuous, it's iterative, it happens throughout the entire project. Software is just too complex, and things change, requirements shift, new ideas come up. So plans have to be flexible. They need regular check-ins, adjustments to stay useful. That continuous planning is actually a big part of being agile.
You mentioned estimating timelines and the specialization. Link that back to the quality of the requirements.
Yes, that's a really critical connection. If your requirements are vague, poorly written, or incomplete, it makes it incredibly difficult for the developers to give you an accurate estimate of how long something will take to build. The clearer and more specific the requirements, the better the time estimates tend to be. It's almost a direct link. And getting those estimates isn't just guesswork. It's usually a collaboration between the developers, who understand the technical work, and the SPM, who sees the bigger picture, the overall schedule, the goals.
And those contingency plans you mentioned for risks, that sounds vital. What kind of risks are we talking about in software projects?
Oh, all sorts. Could be anything from a key developer getting sick or maybe leaving the project, or maybe the main contact person on the client side changes suddenly, or technical stuff like hardware failing, software crashing unexpectedly, problems integrating with other systems. Having thought through these possibilities beforehand, having those contingency plans ready, means you're not totally caught off guard if something does go wrong. You have a strategy.
Okay, last key topic for today, monitoring. This sounds like how we keep tabs on everything.
Exactly right. Being an SPM doesn't stop once you've got a process, requirements, and a plan. Monitoring is the ongoing job of tracking how the project is actually doing compared to that plan. It's crucial for seeing if you're hitting deadlines, spotting any problems or delays early, and being able to react to changes like maybe the client asked for a new feature midstream or priority shift.
So it's about being proactive, not just putting out fires when they happen.
That's the goal, yes. Good monitoring lets you move from being reactive, just dealing with problems as they surface, to being proactive, seeing potential issues coming and maybe heading them off.
The specialization also brought up transparency related to monitoring. What's that about?
Yeah, transparency and monitoring just means that the project's status progress, issues, key metrics isn't just known by the manager, it's visible to the whole team. This helps create a more collaborative feeling where everyone feels some ownership for keeping things on track, the developers, the SPM working together. And while the specific tools or techniques for monitoring get covered later in the specialization, the principle of transparency is really important to grasp early on.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. We've covered the three core goals of SPM: the right product, done right, managed right. We looked at the software product manager's role, defining success more broadly than just time and budget, the core ideas of Agile, and these key foundational topics: process, requirements, planning, and monitoring. It really seems like they all fit together.
They absolutely do. They're not separate silos. Your process affects how you handle requirements, which directly impacts your planning and how you monitor things. They all have to work together to hit those main goals of building great software.
And for you listening, if your goal was to get a solid but also fairly quick understanding of these core SPM principles, we really hope this deep dive has helped with that.
Definitely. Understanding these fundamentals is, well, it's the essential starting point for anyone involved in making software better, no matter your specific job title or how technical you are.
So maybe a final thought to leave you with. Software development is constantly changing. Agile emphasizes adapting, planning, and monitoring are continuous. Given all that, how might really focusing hard on these principles, process, requirements, planning, monitoring, how might that shape the long-term success and maybe the resilience of a software product in a tech world that just keeps evolving so fast?
Something to chew on.
Indeed. Something to think about until our next deep dive. Thanks for tuning in.